Okay, Happy New Year, everyone. It's nice to be back at Integrity Wellness. I'm with Dr. Crystal, and she is going to share a little bit more into depth about her new women's empowerment group, Phoenix Rising, which is for a select few of very interested and dedicated people to overcoming their personal challenges, learning a whole ton about themselves, and of course, some additional perks that Dr. Crystal is going to share more about. And why don't we begin by going into some details about what people can expect with this new group, Phoenix Rising?
Absolutely. Happy New Year, everyone. It's great to be back. Phoenix Rising is really about the return of women in their own center, their own core, their own power. And the reason for that is because the women in our communities and in our society and in our families and in our homes are usually the core. We're usually the ones that um, organize and care for and nourish and enrich and support. And in order to do that, we have to be all of those things first ourselves. And it comes to no surprise to anyone that in modern living, women are very depleted. And so this is kind of a call to the women who are feeling depleted, who are feeling that they are maybe stuck in some kind of challenge or stuck in a place in life that they do not want to be any longer, and that requires change. So it's meant to be a series of master classes that I'm going to share my perspective and my very unique knowledge and wisdom through application with this group of women. And some of the topics are really going to include a lot about who you are as a human and understanding the nature of the universe, the nature of yourself as a human, and the nature of reality. And what that usually brings us back to is consciousness, or that infinite source of energy we've talked about in the past. So I'm going to teach more in depth on that. And then from there, as a springboard, lead out towards how our mind, our thoughts, and our beliefs and our behaviors affect our lives and our physical body and the reality that we see in the future. And then after that, a little bit of education and teaching on how all of those influence the physical body as well. Because if we're not feeling strong, if we're not feeling powerful, if we're not feeling energetic, it's very difficult for women to be the core and to lead their families or, their jobs, their positions in life. So that's some of the basics of the details of it. But the reasons why we're doing it are also very related to the yin and yang balance in the Eastern tradition. And in more Western tradition, it's more about that polarizing energies, right? Positive and negative. And so what we're working towards is bringing balance back to women for their divine feminine energy, because we've kind of lost a lot of that softness, the tenderness, the intuition, the gentle approach to conflict. And we've done that in lieu of taking on more masculine energy to be able to function in a workforce and in a lot of these positions that require more masculine energy, more analyzing, more data driven, more mind centered instead of analytical, right? Instead of heart centered. So we're trying to refine or relocate the seat of our consciousness being more in our heart than in our minds. And it's a really important thing to do in this day and age because we see such dramatic shifts in the way that people treat each other and just overall in the nature of the flow of life, the stresses, and the realities that people are living in. The vast majority of people are living lives they don't want to be living. And I think that's a travesty, and I want to do something about that.
Awesome. Now, like, what exactly, like, how exactly does that look like? For example, are you, you're teaching some seminars, some master classes, and are you giving practical advice that these women can take away into their own lives that can help them change as they come here throughout the weeks? Or is it more like knowledge that they can take away and um, use as they seek fit? Maybe you can break down exactly what it would look like for a member who, of course, is very dedicated and was interested in joining.
Absolutely. It's going to be a bit of a mixture of all of those things. And if anyone knows me, they understand um, that I'm a very broad thinker and I approach topics from multiple different perspectives and I draw in value from all different disciplines. So I'm going to be sharing that perspective and sharing both art and science of all of these things, and also providing practical applications, practical strategies, different anecdotes or pearls that I've learned along the way, going through my own kind of Phoenix Rising journey in my lifetime. So it's a huge mixture, and it's very different than I think anything that's ever really existed to date, which is another reason why um, I'm approaching it the way I am. And everything that I'm adding has its own unique value. And the way that I'm putting it all together, being in a small group of women um, with some presentation, some group dynamics, and sharing and chatting. It's all very specific because it's incorporating all of the different elements that are really required to touch the human that needs to change. And so I've incorporated all of those facets and aspects into the planning of it. And then so it'll be 6 different sessions that I'm calling master classes because it's going to be my own very signature series of education and approach to both life and health as a mastery. And from there, we'll have um, different sessions with modalities in our clinic for each of the participants of the group. So they'll be able to come in and use our physical modalities so that they can learn how this type of medicine can relax and rest their core and their very true essence of their nature, and pair that with all of the lessons and the reflective exercises or the introspection that they're doing. And then there's also a trauma release session with a really good collaborative colleague of mine, Lisa Toma with This Is Healing Inc. And it's an incredible experience, and it's planned. Well, it actually wasn't planned, surprisingly. It was very synchronistic, that it's occurring on, we're starting on the full moon, new moon cycle on January 29th. And that new moon is into Aquarius. And so what these mean, or what they're related to and symbolic of, is the process of renewal, of change, of transformation. And so as we begin this process in the winter before spring, it's the preparation before growth and renewal. And so even though we don't see all of those changes happening deep under the frozen ground, they're happening subtly, swiftly, right? Invisibly. And that's what it's going to feel like and be like for the participants as they go through this process as well. All of these changes and everything that they're learning are happening at the time before, when life itself shows renewal and regeneration. And then the trauma release session that's going to happen is going to be on, I can't remember which date, but regardless, it's the waning moon. So it's the end of that new moon cycle. And that is literally the process of release. So the timing, which was synchronistic, not planned that to be that way, it worked out to be completely perfect for the group that we're offering with the process that we're doing. So just mind blowing.
Yeah, that seems epic.
Yeah.
You are entering this time of change, which everyone, the whole universe is. We're entering a time of change, and you have this empowerment group just about 6 or 7 months since you started Integrity Wellness,
Yeah.
and they also get this trauma release session, which is those are pretty powerful sessions, and I've never done one myself, but I imagine like they're a pretty serious practice that um, can really help you let go of things that are really stuck with you.
Yeah.
And um, as you've mentioned before, everyone has things that are stuck with them, and some are a bit more traumatic than others. And but it's really about how we push forward through that and how we cope with that. And with a trauma release session, plus coming to integrity wellness, like all the modalities here will really,
Mm-hmm.
and I can speak for this myself, will really um, center your core, so to say, like your nervous system, which we've yet to talk about. We will someday, but
Yeah.
it really does. Like it really does bring you back into alignment the more you come.
Mm-hmm.
And I can only imagine with the information sessions and knowledge masterclass sessions that you're giving, like it really is going to give them like that breath of fresh air to move forward in their life in a way that not only speaks to them, but really can bring about positive change in their life.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a certain order operation of your master class? Like, is there anything that you can speak about these master classes? Like, of course, we're not gonna give everything away, but
Yeah.
is there any like little details, like maybe what kind of stuff will they learn? Is there like certain topics that are
Mm-hmm.
not really talked about out there, or maybe are, but you have a specific set of knowledge that you're gonna share about? Is there
Mm-hmm.
anything you can speak about the master classes?
Yeah, I think a lot of it will be unique. I'm going to start off really with sort of an introduction to what the process of Phoenix Rising looks like. It's really just a hero's journey, and the steps of what that involves for a person, and each person will likely connect with some point along that process wheel. And we'll go into my description, or my version of how I'm going to teach about um, consciousness, life, and human evolution, and the increasing complexity in creation that has happened, that really most people live their lives and they don't really take any of that into account. But it's actually really, really important because since we're living beings, since we're natural living beings in nature, in the universe, we encompass all of those qualities and all of those properties. And if we want to thrive, which is what I'm trying to bring to the participants of this group, we then must know what those principles are and then apply them in our life. And there's usually a disconnect where people might read or learn or listen to and understand what some of these principles are, but they don't know how to apply them in their life, or they don't apply them, and then there's nobody to hold them accountable, or they're not supported in a way to do that. And so I'm trying to, knock down any barriers and bring to each person a supportive group that, allows for all kinds of flexibility. But the goal is the application of the things that they're learning. And so I think that will be a big difference. The topics from there, I want people to have a real deep understanding of the basics of what life is, where it comes from. And once we've done that, then we're going to move on to the complexities of human that makes us unique, which is our free will, our mind, how powerful our thoughts are. And, I want to reassure people this isn't about positive thinking. It's about your state of being and how important your state of being is overall to the quality of life that you generate or create in reality for yourself. We are co-creators, and life is just an expression of art in motion. And when we understand all of these principles and can kind of apply them, and we'll see the changes happening fairly quickly, it's a lot easier to maintain motivation and maintain discipline to living life in a very different way. That's what this comes down to. And there's not a lot of people that are teaching or educating on how to live life in a way that true change will happen. And it doesn't matter what challenge you're facing or what thing you want changed in your life, these principles apply to every aspect, every different, attribute you could put on it. So if you're struggling with mood or health issues or weight loss or money troubles or career advice or on and on, the process for change and transformation is the same. And we're going to look at how nature does that and how it relates to us. And so there's a lot that's packed into it. It's going to be I would say, an intense experience that you're going to get a lot, but you're also going to have time to integrate and to apply through processes like journaling and meditations. And then when we regroup, we'll touch on those and check in and then move on to the next masterclass lesson topic. So it's very fluid, and it's going to be very supportive for people. And I think we'll actually see a lot of transformation occurring within those 12 weeks.
That sounds amazing. And I I see that it's a community, right? And people learn best by learning through others. So there's going to be times where you regroup during these class sessions, and everyone can communicate with each other about their experiences and what they're finding and what they're noticing about themselves. And
Mm-hmm.
something I actually wanted to mention is if you haven't listened to the 3-part series that has just come out, that would be a great starting point as actually a sneak peek, because
Yeah.
it really does talk about the field and vibration and frequency, which is everything in regards to change and why
Mm-hmm.
things happen,
Mm-hmm.
and continuums for that matter. And of course, scalars fields,
Mm-hmm.
which you can use here while you're in this
Absolutely.
Phoenix Rising group. So definitely something to go back and take a listen to. My only question now is how does someone get the most out of this group, right? If they're really going to invest in themselves and they really want to make a change and they say that they're serious, how do they truly get the most out of this?
That's a great question, Jesse. So, first, the person that is considering this as an option for them really needs to be open, really needs to be curious about where it is in their own life that they would be willing to make a change, right? It has to be something that they're driven to do, because nothing in your life will change unless you change it. And so you have to be ready for that moment. Now, are you going to be perfect at the implementation and the application of it all in life? No, and that's not in any expectation, right? Um, but you have to have this openness and willingness and softness for yourself because we're going to be finding um, non-judgmentality and neutrality. And I don't think people really understand exactly what that means and how we get to that space and we sit there and we look at things objectively as a witness instead of um, in our own minds with all of our different conditions and um, programs that we have built over time. And the other thing is, part of my process that I've learned in studying life and in studying physics and the universe and humans is that there's this pivot point. And we often can see it in nature where something is spiraling downward and it eventually hits the point where it has to go back up. And that's a really important moment, is that pivot point. So somebody would get the most out of it if they've been struggling with something for a little while and they are really ready for change in that pivot point. And the pivot point signifies change, transformation, even um, more than transformation. Um, like when butterflies come from caterpillars, that whole process of metamorphosis is really what we're kind of doing here. It's an alchemy of sorts. And so being ready for that pivot and to the point where you want change really badly in your life and you're willing to put the effort forth, because life meets you where you meet it. And so when you put forth an effort, life will put forth an effort to you too. And that pivot point is really what that signifies. And so the more times you consistently show up and do that for yourself, the more positive, effective change you'll have in your life towards the goals that you set. So those are, I think, the most important aspects that would lead someone to getting the most out of this. And just really a willingness, right, to put on a new set of lenses and look at the world in a bit of a different way. And I think anyone that's coming to me through this group is already doing that, but maybe they don't really realize that they're even doing it. So I think the women that are at the point of there's got to be more to life, or asking themselves the questions of something's got to give. And it's if you've had those thoughts, this group is likely what you're looking for. And so I welcome people at that time or earlier or later, but that's the crux that the pivot point actually moves on, if you will.
Fantastic. So now is the time to get enrolled into this group, and how can people inquire to get started or get on the list, right? There's limited spots available, and we've already had some joiners. So
Yeah.
if you are interested or want to find out more, of course you can check out this podcast, and there's some information on the Facebook page. There'll be a blog sometime soon.
Mm-hmm.
How can people get in contact with you to get started?
So the easiest place to inquire or send an email of interest or to register is actually to our email, info@integrity-wellness.ca. You can also phone our direct line, 249-888-1359 is the telephone number to the clinic. And our Facebook page, and I believe on my website, it's going to have an actual poster. Oh, and it'll be on our YouTube channel too. That will have more details if you like the sort of written details. So there is limited spots. I can only take 20 women. I really like small groups, again, for very particular reasons. And there's already quite a few spots that have been taken up. So I'm super pumped about that. And I can't wait to see who else joins. So if you're considering, this is a new year and everyone sets goals, everyone sets New Year's resolutions. This year, could you make the resolution about you, about focusing on finding what it is that you need first and foremost? Could you make this year about uncovering what you've been packing away and releasing all of that, because you don't need to carry around all the baggage that we've been carrying around. And it's ubiquitous. Everyone does it. It's a part of the human condition. So there's a lot, I think, that people will really gain from it. So if you're considering making any change this year for yourself, this would be an absolutely epic change.
So